My husband left me for my assistant. This is part 2 of this ongoing story. You can find part 1 in the description below. Let's get into it. If you thought that after I found my husband with my so-called assistant, things could only get worse, well, they did. Any person faced with that would probably cause violence, confront them both, and become unhinged. And trust me, I became unhinged. But not in the way that you would expect. I pushed down everything that I was feeling and detached myself from the situation. My sister was prepared to kick that man out and be the one to kick out my assistant for me if I didn't have the strength to, but I didn't want that to happen and I had to think, see which was best for me to deal with and come out with the least amount of damage. I also had to try to forget seeing those men at the exact spot where my husband was cheating on me. I don't believe in fate or destiny, but that was something that could not have been a coincidence. Or maybe it was just life laughing at me once more. But here is what I did deal with in the events of that night. Firstly, I lied to him and told him that I've been feeling a bit sick after meeting with my sister and was just nursing me back to health. She was going to stay for a few more days to take care of me and make sure that nothing or anybody could hurt me. You should have seen the guilty gulp after I said nothing or said no one can hurt me. I could literally smell Karla on him and hear her stupid laughter from last night, but I kept the anger and tears at bay and focused on being rational. I went to work that morning where I gave Karla more work than I usually do, so she could be out of my hair. While she was completing the task, I peeked at her phone and saw that she was still texting my husband, and he wanted to meet her the next day after work. When she came into my office, I told her that she might need to work overtime the next day, because we had a last-minute very important client, and you should have seen the way her face fell. I felt so good. I wanted to round them up until there was nowhere to go. I trusted them both, and this is what I get for it: lies and betrayal. The next afternoon, I could see that she was restless and kept on checking her phone. She was completing tasks much faster than usual, hoping I would pity her and let her go meet my husband. And then, an hour before the meeting, she came to my office, face wet with tears. Or maybe it was water. I don't know, but they were definitely crocodile tears. She told me that her mother is sick. Yeah, sick in the hospital, and she had to go right then and there. So, I let her go. But I knew that I had planned those two. It wasn't enough, though. To use her mother as an excuse to meet up with my husband, oh boy, that was sickening. I went home and wallowed in self-pity, and then I started looking for an apartment for myself. Living with him and breathing the same air was absolutely shredding me to pieces. Everything that came out of his mouth was a lie. Every "I love you" was a lie, and I couldn't handle it. I started to slowly move out, taking my most important stuff and putting it in storage while I waited to get an apartment. He could keep this house if he wanted for it, reminded me of what happened to my face, and I avoided the living room like a plague and had been planning to get it redone, but I guess that was not going to happen anymore now that I'm going to leave. He came back in the middle of the night once again and slept in my bed. I was wide awake. I could smell the alcohol on his breath and Karla's dirty little scent. Maybe I was dreaming that part up, but that was my life of what it consisted of these days. Thinking about their affair and having nightmares about the attack. I continued to move my stuff out while I thought of the best way to fire Karla before I physically harmed her. They thought they were so sleek, but I guess I could see everything and they didn't know. I don't know how I'd been so blind before, but now I could see everything clear, and it made me sick to my stomach. My sister, Rosalind, eventually had to go back home because she had to work. But she was my biggest support through it all and offered me a lot of financial assistance. She also helped me safeguard my most important assets, for the last thing I wanted was to lose money when I divorced this loser. I moved out a few days before my birthday. I had a few clothings left in the house and he didn't even notice. I only showed up at the house for appearances, but I lived in my apartment most of the time. He didn't notice at all. Didn't notice that I didn't check up on him anymore or that I've disabled my location finder days ago, so he could not find me. I thought of ghosting him, honestly, or going for him so that he would not even have a cent to his name, but it was all baby steps and I didn't have a plan at the moment. Little did I know what was in store for us. I told him that I was not going to be home for my birthday and that I wanted to have a weekend away with the girls. I saw the glimmer in his eyes and knew he was already plotting. I didn't even feel hurt anymore at this point, not even a bit. I just did not want to see him at all. Karla was sick, so I had a temporary person at my job. I had a half day and then I went home where I drove myself mad with destructive thoughts. I tried to have an early night, but then at around 11, I had a restless urge. Something was telling me to go home. I knew better than to ignore the intuition. Sure enough, when I get home, I saw the lights were on and he was home. I walked in not making a peep, and then I heard laughing in the direction of his office. I stayed in the shadows for a while as I thought of what to do next. While I was out of sight, he came into the room and answered the phone. He was talking to someone and promising the person money and asking for a few days. He said that he would get the money from his wife, but they had to give him time. After the call, he looked pale and was shaking. Then I heard him say this. "I have no choice but to empty the safe. I don't want them to come here again." A few minutes passed by, and I was wondering why I was hiding in my own home. I thought I looked ridiculous. Would you imagine that while I was hiding there, I heard a scream? Then Karla came running. She ran so fast that she did not see me there. A few seconds later, I heard her car starting outside, and then she was gone. I wondered what made her run out like a ghost, so I crept in the direction of his office. I just stopped there so that I could see what was going on, but I couldn't be seen or heard. What I saw made my blood run cold, and I nearly followed Karla. For circling my husband in his study were the goons who attacked me, and they were very angry with him. They told him that last time he did not learn even after his wife saved his life. They told him that he had been given months to pay them for their money, and they were tired of waiting. He begged for his life, telling them that there was money in the safe if they could spare him, and then he gave them the safe combination, which worked, but they found nothing in the safe. That is because I emptied it out when I left. Before he could even start to explain, they started to beat him. I didn't know how long it carried on for, but they had no mercy. His screams were blood-curdling as he begged for mercy, and they just laughed at him, telling him that he could have avoided this by paying them their money. I think I zoned out in the background, out of fear for a while as I went back to what happened the night of my cutting face. They came into our home, threatened and hurt us, and now I was finding out that he was the reason this all happened, because he owed them money. He should have just told me that, and I could have got him out of this mess, and I would have just given him the money. Nothing was worth risking our lives over. I could have forgiven him. That's the sad part. I came back to reality with such sharpness that the numbness I had been feeling while standing there was replaced by urgency. He looked like he was passed out. They stopped beating him up, but I knew that I just stood there. They would not spare him. Even with all that he's done, I would not let him be slaughtered by those barbarians. I got out of earshot of them and called the police, and I waited. And I waited. And a few minutes later, the house was surrounded by police, and then there was chaos. Someone managed to get me out of the house while the cops tried to capture the three to save his life. I was frantic outside, waiting for the worst, but hoping that nothing would happen to him. This was not how it was supposed to end. The lies and betrayal made me hate him, but he could not just be gone without answering to me first. After some time, the three thugs were apprehended while he was carried out on a stretcher. They took us both to the hospital, and once my checkups were done, I had to give a statement. I was informed that the suspects were suspected to be lackeys of a very dangerous lender. The cops promised that they would get justice for my husband, but I knew it was all false promises. For people like that don't go to jail. Not for long, at least. When I saw him laying in the hospital bed, I wished that he was awake so I could ask him, "What the heck? Do you not really care about anyone but yourself?" But instead, I left him a note telling him not to come back to the house when he was discharged from the hospital and that he could go stay with his girlfriend because we're done. I immediately sent her a message letting her know that I was dismissing her and I would write a bad referral letter because of her affair with my husband. She could not do anything about it. She just accepted it and crawled into whatever hole she came out of. I gave her till the next morning to take every single last thing out of that office and just leave. I never wanted to see her again, and that's the honest truth. She might have felt that she got away scot-free because I was stepping aside so she could be with her lover. But do you know the saying, quote, "How you got him is how you're going to lose him"? I knew that karma was going to deal with her perfectly, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. In the days after he got attacked, people reached out to me for my offering support. Some of them were the ones who laughed at me because of my scar. I didn't entertain them because I knew they only came here to gather some gossip so they could cold laugh at me some more. What I did, I served Joe divorce papers as soon as I could. When he got discharged, he begged to see me so that he could explain. My sister, being overprotective as she was not really a fan of him being so close to me after what all he's done. But I wanted to see what excuse he was going to use to try to get out of this mess. I wasn't disappointed. He looked very pitiful sitting on my house as he cried, saying that he was glad that I was not in the house when the attack happened. I asked him one question. If KK stayed, would you have let her take the attack to save you as you did for me? But then he retorted with, "I don't know what you're trying to say, but you saved me for your own accord." He was so nonchalant about it that I felt like laughing at how stupid I've been. While I was still trying to recover from the statement that he had the nerve to make, he hit me with the big one. "And after that scar couldn't heal, I just wasn't attracted to you anymore." I said, "I saw you with her weeks ago in the same restaurant that those three were at. I should have made the connection there." His eyes widened as I told him how I slowly started to protect my assets and move out. I let him know that he was nothing to me. Not even going to get a single dollar, by the way. And that if anyone was going to suffer, it was him and his lover. If he was not attracted to me after I saved his life, he should have let me know and let me go in peace. Instead, he kept secrets from me behind my back and let me be in the presence of the woman he loved. Joe told me that he would not let me take the house or anything from him because he helped me get it. I asked him if he was really sure about that, and I left him sitting there and went downstairs. I had his bags packed already, so I threw them down the stairs in anger, shouting at him to stop me if he dared. Then I told him to call someone to help him, maybe KK. He looked at me with true disgust in his eyes when he told me that I was crazy. Yes, I am crazy. Crazy because of what he and Karla put me through. I did nothing to the three of them, but they wanted to steal my money. They lied to me about so much. I left the bags at the bottom of the stairs and locked myself in my bedroom. I think at some point he got someone to come take the bags for him and he left. The only time I saw and communicated with him afterward was during the long and hard divorce process. He tried, by all means, to get me to pay his alimony and give him the house, but I hung on to everything with all that I had. My family was present to support me, so I felt less alone than I had in the previous few months. Karla. Oh, Karla. Karla had the nerve to come to court to support him, even though she ran from him when he was under attack. I hoped it was worth it, their relationship, and that they would not run when things got too hard. But I knew them. They were pretentious and would never last. I got the house, all the assets in the divorce, while he just walked away with his car. With his face all busted up, he could not model for long, so he moved in with Karla. I started to go to therapy to deal with the trauma I went through, and started to have a few nightmares, and, well, they got less and less as time went on, and bitterness towards them. I forgave them, but I did not forget, nor have pity for them. They're still here in this town, but I don't know if they're still together or what they're even up to. I do hear his name every now and again, but I care less. Those people who worship him because of his looks would stop immediately if they knew what he had done to me and the reason behind his scars. Every time I look at my scar, I try to think of it in a way of the scar being proof that I can survive anything and that I am worth loving. I tell myself not to care about what people say about my scars and the fact that my husband left me for his assistant. Well, those people don't know the full story and they don't deserve to know, but I had to tell the story somewhere or somehow, and I chose to tell it here, my side on my terms with no one else who knows me. For anyone going through divorce or has been cheated on, it does get better, and you're going to get through this. I promise. I just want to say I am very happy how the story ended, leaving this guy high and dry in the divorce. He didn't get anything. Jack squat, nothing. And I think he deserved that the most, because what was making me so disgusting about this story? The fact that OP saved his life, got hurt in the process, and deeply got scars on her face, and his reasoning for cheating on her, not with some random person, oh no, with her secretary Karla, it's because her face is too ugly to love anymore. That's absolutely ridiculous, and I think this guy's top-level jerk of the week. Guys, let me know your thoughts about it. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I hope you enjoyed this two-part story. Let me know your thoughts about it. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.